Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from our IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Matrix lab. This is the video number 36. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have been working with the Testomo report. We have been discussing the successful points and the failure points concerning the forest finding. So if we see the report, here is the report of the Testomo. It is divided into tabs. The first tab is the summary, which contains a summary of all of the findings and all of the components of the Active Directory. For example, like the forest finding, the domains finding, the domain controllers finding. So this is the summary. And then we have the tab for the forest, which is focusing on the findings of the report concerning the weak points in the forest, the weak points or the tests concerning the forest. Okay, and then the tab concerning the domains or the tests concerning the domains, the weak points and the strong points, and the last tab is for the domain controllers. So we have finished the last time the tab for the forest. We have seen the weak points and we have solved it, and we have seen the successful points and we have discussed it. The one big advantage of this report is to study the Active Directory through these tests, so we can know more about the Active Directory through this test, okay, or through these topics and tests that are done with the Testomo report. So today we will begin discussing the findings concerning the Testomo reports, which was found in the domain. So the first finding is saying that you should have some ports opened on the domain controllers so you can communicate with the Active Directory database. These ports are concerning the LDAP protocol, which is the protocol responsible for communicating with the Active Directory. Okay, there is two versions of this protocol. One is the normal one, which is LDAP protocol, and the other one is the LDAP S, which is the secure version of this protocol. Here is saying that this test has found that you are working with LDAP, but you are not working with the LDAP S protocol. So he's finding that, or he is saying that this is a finding or this is a weak point. Okay, so he's saying here, the report or the test is saying domain controllers require certain ports for LDAP conductivity to be opened and serving proper certificate for SSL conductivity. This is for the secure protocol. So you should have your firewall bypassing these ports, and your domain controller should support these protocols for communicating with the Active Directory database. Here is saying that he has found that you are working with the LDAP, okay, and the firewall is already bypassing this, but he's finding that you are not working with SSL protocol or with LDAP S protocol. So we need to first enable the LDAP S protocol. We need to enable it on our domain controller so anyone can work with either two protocols, the LDAP protocol or the LDAP S protocol. He can choose to work with either protocols. So for example, maybe some clients cannot work with the LDAP S, so it can work with the LDAP. One of the things here, when I was examining the Department of Defense of the United States recommendations concerning the securing the Active Directory, I didn't find something mentioning that we should work with LDAP S. Okay, this was not stated in the recommendations concerning securing the Active Directory environment. So I think this is not this is not required, or not, it should not be implemented, okay, because maybe some clients or some software will not support the LDAP S protocol. But anyway, it's a good thing to secure the communication to your Active Directory database using this protocol. But anyway, I think if you are working internally and you have a good control over your security by using firewalls and closing necessary ports, okay, I think we could bypass this point by enabling LDAP-S port. And I have said I have seen the Department of Defense of the United States recommendations concerning the Active Directory. They didn't state that you should enable LDAP-S. Okay, so anyway, here is saying that you should work with LDAP-S. So to work with LDAP-S, you need to have a certificate that will sign or that will see, first the SSL certificate will have a lot of roles actually, but one of the most important things is to secure the connection between the client and the server, or the client and the Active Directory database. So we need to first issue a certificate. So after that, after issuing this certificate, we can take it and begin working with the LDAP-S protocol. Okay, so here is saying if any or all of these ports, he will check, this test will check all of these ports. If they are unavailable for any of the domain controllers, it means that the DC is not available. Okay, is not either DC is not available from location it's getting tested from, or those ports are down, or DC does not have a proper certificate installed. So all of these he will test and see if they are available. He have already seen the LDAP ports are available, but the LDAP-S is not available. So we need to first, to enable LDAP-S, we need to install a certificate, and then after that, we will see how we can work with the LDAP-S. And another thing, to secure uh, the connection to your Active Directory database, you will work with the LDAP-S, and you need to activate a couple of options, something called LDAP binding and LDAP signing. This is another option you should work with. Here is giving us some URLs how to test LDAP and LDAP-S conductivity using the PowerShell. This is a URL, and we will see how we can use these commands to test the LDAP and LDAP-S. And here is the another URL to enable LDAP binding and signing. So we will see that in a moment. I will see how we can enable LDAP binding and signing. But before that, we need to go and see how we can enable LDAP-S, okay, by first installing a certificate, and then we will discuss how we can work with the LDAP-S, and then we will see how we can enable LDAP channel binding and LDAP signing, and we will discuss what is LDAP channel binding and which is LDAP signing. So let's go to our video and see how we can enable LDAP-S. So by the way, this is, if we go further, let me show you something here. If we go further, there is a video, okay. I need to go something here, okay, go further. Okay, so here is a video, okay, from a YouTube channel, how to set up LDAP-S on a Windows domain controller tutorial. So this is very, very simple. You can enable it in a very, very simple way, and we will see how we can enable LDAP signing and binding after enable LDAP-S. So let's go and see how we can do that. We will enable this on two domain controllers. Okay, we have the primary domain controller and the additional domain controller. So we will go and first open our virtual environment through the VM Workstation Pro 17 software. I am here decreasing the RAM because I have a limited amount of RAM resources, so I am just distributing it across different virtual machines. So here I'm giving my ADC more RAM and my PDC less RAM, because I will work or will do all my LDAP binding and signing, and LDAP-S protocol will be enabled on first on the ADC and then on the PDC. Okay, so now I have my ADC working and my PDC working. So now I am logging in with my domain admin account. So first we need to work with LDAP-S, we need to have a certificate. So we need to install a certificate server. This is the first thing. And one of the things this video says that you should not enable the certificate server role on a domain controller that is holding all of the Vesmo roles. Okay, so this is another thing why I have been working with the additional domain controller first. I need to install a certificate server to enable LDAP-S. This should be done on a server that is not holding the Vesmo roles. So the additional domain controller is not holding the Vesmo roles. The PDC or the primary domain controller is holding the Vesmo role. So here this is the transcript of the video, and here he is stating one of his lines in the transcript. He's saying that it should not, or you should not install the certificate server on a server that is holding the Vesmo roles. Okay, we will use this certificate to enable the LDAP-S. Okay, so this is one thing to take note of. He's saying that he has already installed the certificate server on the PDC, but and there is no problems. But he's saying that the recommendation is not to install a certificate server on the domain controller that is holding the Vesmo roles. Okay, so I have asked ChatGPT concerning this question, why we should not install a certificate server on a domain controller that is using Vesmo roles. He's saying that there is some security concerns, there is some performance concerns, there is some backup and restore concerns if you are planning to backup and recover the server holding the certificate server role and the uh, domain controller role that is also included, or the Vesmo role is included with it. So I have asked ChatGPT and this was his answer. Let me ask Claude this answer, or ask this question: why we shouldn't install certificate server on a domain controller that is holding all Vesmo roles. Okay, he's saying here that my here is saying that my chat is already was or have reached the limit. So I will open a new chat box, or a new chat or a new conversation. Let's see here. So here, let's see what he is saying about that. Let's read the answer carefully and see why it is not recommended to do that. So let's see the answer here and tell him to read it out loudly.
Copy. Retry. Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. 3.5 Sonnet. Installing a certificate server, certificate authority or CA, on a domain controller that holds all flexible single master operation FSMO roles is generally not recommended for several reasons. Security risks. Combining critical roles increases the attack surface. If the server is compromised, both domain controller functions and certificate issuance could be affected. Performance impact. Running a CA alongside FSMO roles can strain server resources, potentially affecting the performance of both services. Complexity in disaster recovery. Having multiple critical services on one server complicates backup and recovery processes. Single point of failure. If this server goes down, it affects multiple critical services simultaneously. Separation of duties. Best practices recommend separating these roles for better management and security. Scalability issues. As your organization grows, separating these roles allows for better scalability and management. Maintenance challenges. Updating or maintaining one service might require downtime for all services on that server. Compliance concerns. Some regulatory standards may require separation of these roles. Instead, it's generally better to distribute these roles across different servers to improve security, performance, and manageability. Would you like more information on best practices for deploying these services in an Active Directory environment?
Okay, this is the answer of Claude, and I see it is very, very convenient and very reasonable answers. So let's see how we can enable LDAP-S. First, we need to install a certificate server to issue SSL to uh, begin working with LDAP-S. Okay. So this is my ADC or additional domain controller. It's not holding the BISMO roles. Here you can see I have one service is not running uh, in the dashboard or server manager dashboard. This is the inter-site messaging which is logically will not work because I don't have multiple sites. I have only one site in my Active Directory. Okay. So here I will add roles and features, and then I will begin adding my certificate server. Okay, next, and then we will add Active Directory certificate servers. Before that, I will take a snapshot from both domain controllers in case something happened. So now we have finished backing up or taking snapshot from the additional domain controller. Now we will take backup from or snapshot from the primary domain controller. So we will see the progress of the snapshot here at this section. Okay. It will take a couple of seconds maybe. So now we are ready to go. Now we can install the certificate server, and then let's see how we can work with the SSL, or how we can do, let me do something here, how we can work with the LDAP-S. Here I'm just checking the D partition which contains my virtual machines, which is getting low on space. So I just need to make sure to have enough space, because these snapshots are stored in the folder containing my virtual machines. So now I have already verified that. Then I need to install Active Directory certificate server or the certificate services. We will see that I will encounter an error because there is some busy activity or some high demanding processes on the servers or on this server or this virtual machine. So it will do a couple of errors, but anyway, if I retry adding again the Active Directory certificate services, it will work. So we can pause the video. Or pause the recording until it is already installed. Here we can see there is a mismatch or there is an error. Okay, this error, when I retry again adding the Active Directory certificate services, it worked normally. Okay, next. Then we can tell him next again. Okay, next. And then we need the certificate authority, okay, which is a feature. If we go again 1 minute or 1 second, if we go, we need to install next. we need to install certificate authority is used to issue and manage certificates. We need to issue a certificate, so we need to install the certificate authority. Multiple certificate authorities can be linked from to form a public key infrastructure. Anyway, I need to install only the certificate authority. If you need to install network device enrollment service, if you need to issue certificates for routers and switches, you need to install this additional feature. Network device enrollment service makes it possible to issue and manage certificates for routers and other network devices that do not have network accounts. Okay, so this is one thing. So next, then install and restart if needed. So we need to configure the Active Directory services. Now he is using my account. Okay, to install the following roles. Okay, you must belong to the enterprise admins group. I am already there, so he will install these roles. Okay, related to the certificate server. Next, then we need to configure the certificate authority. This one we have already installed. Next, then we need to tell him it is an enterprise CA, it is the root CA, and we need to create a private key. This key will be used to, I think, to issue the SSL certificate, and we need to choose the SHA-256 hash or algorithm for the certificate. Okay, this is select dash algorithm for signing certificates. This is the algorithm for signing the certificate and issuing the certificate. This is the most powerful encrypting algorithm. Okay, we should use it. Okay, so now this is the video. Okay, I'm just following the steps. Now we have the name of the server or the certificate server. And then this is the validity of this is the certificate that will be issued to this server. Okay, so this server will act as a CA expiration date. This server will expire as acting as a CA after 5 years. You can add it, or you can increase the time that this server will act as a certificate server, certificate authority server. Okay, next. Anyway, so this is all. We will use the default setting. We will not play with anything. We will accept all of the default setting. Okay, the last two things is for the logs for the certificate authority server. Now we have already the certificate server or certificate authority server configured. Now we should see a certificate issued. Okay, for this server we will have the root certificate server or the root certificate, and we have the client certificate. Okay, or the server certificate and the client certificate. Okay, we should see this on both, or see both certificates on this server, and we cannot see it actually before making a restart. So we need to restart this server and to restart this server. After restarting both, we will see the certificate issued and deployed on both servers, the client certificates. Okay, and we will have additional certificate here for the server. Okay, or the root CA certificate. Okay, so this is simply how we can issue a certificate, and then after that we can begin working normally with the LDAP-S, and we will see how it will work or how we can test it. Okay, so now this is my PDC. After restarting, I will go and open it, and then we will check the certificate the certificate issued for this server, we will see its location and we'll see it is issued and pushed to the server automatically. I think I didn't restart the PDC. Okay, so I have already restarted the ADC, then I have restarted the PDC. Okay, so this is one thing. So sometimes we need to restart it manually. Now we can pause the recording. Now we can go to the additional domain controller, which is the certificate server. We need to check the certificate storage, okay, to see if we have the certificates issued. So now I am logging in using my domain admin account. So now I think first we need to open the certificate authority console, okay, or to tell him to manage the certificates. We need to see the certificates where they are stored. So we need to manage our certificates on this server, okay. So let me see how we can do that. We can tell him to manage computer certificates. Okay, this is one thing. Then we need to see the personal section, and then we can see the certificates. Here we will see two certificates. The first one is the root CA certificate. Okay, I think, let me see. This is the client certificate. Also, this is the root CA certificate, the root CA certificate, and this is the client certificate. Okay, so we can see this is client authentication, and this is for the server. Okay, so we can see on each server we should see this issued, the client certificate. Okay, and this is only to be found on the certificate authority server. Okay, so we need to go and see if this is already we need to see the client certificate issued to the PDC as well. So we will see how we can check that from the ADC. We don't need to go to the PDC and check the certificates. Okay, here I'm trying to open the certificate authority console, so we can check it from the run or from the search, and then we can check it from the certificate authority. Now we can see issued certificates. Now we can see we have two certificates. If we open it or double click on it, here you see we have two certificates. Okay, and by the way, these are client certificates. This is for the ADC and this is for the PDC. So now we can see he has issued already a certificate for the PDC. So we can know here from this console if a certificate is issued for my PDC or not. This is one way, and you can do it by another way. I will show you all how we can do that. If we open our custom console, let me show you all how we can check if a certificate is issued for my PDC. Now we can open, this is the LDAP, this is the program that you can use to connect to the Active Directory database. Here we will tell him to connect using the normal LDAP protocol. So this is the name of the server, this is the port for the normal LDAP protocol. If we tell him OK, we will be able to connect. We tell him OK. Now, as we can see here, this is the normal LDAP protocol. Okay, if we need to use LDAP-S, I will show you all how it is now available and we can work with it. If we go there and disconnect, okay, and then tell him a new connection or connect again, and then we will change the port. So tell him connect, okay, and then we will change the port to 636 and tell him SSL, and then okay. Now we can see that we have LDAP-S enabled, so we can now work with LDAP-S. Okay, so we have already enabled this, and check this on our ADC. We need to check that on our PDC. Let's see how we can do that. So now LDAP-S, and we will see how when we run the testmo test to check this point, it will be succeeded. We will see how we can run this test again and see the result. So this is the service intersite messaging. As I told you, I don't have any other sites. I have only one site, so this service should normally be not working. Okay, so now we can do another thing to check. We'll open my custom console and I will show you all how I can check from here if the certificate is installed on my PDC. So we add remove snapping, we tell him to add the certificate authority for another computer, okay, and then I put my PDC, okay, again, or certificates, not certificate authority, the certificates, and then we tell him the computer account, because this certificate is for the computer, not for the user. And then we will check or give him the name of my PDC, 125, and then finish. Okay, and then okay. Now we can open the certificates on the remote server and we will see that here is the personal folder and we will see the certificates. Now we can see this is the client certificate. Okay, we only see the client authentication certificate, not the root certificate. This is only available on the ADC. So now we have everything working. We need to go and check the LDAP-S on the PDC. And then we can go and open the PDC or log into our PDC. So now we can open the LDAP program first to make sure that, or we can work with the normal LDAP protocol. We will do the same. We will tell him to connect using the normal LDAP protocol. Okay, we need to put the name of the server. Okay, and then tell him, okay, this is the normal LDAP protocol. Here you go. And then we need to disconnect and work with the LDAP-S. Tell him new and tell him connect. Then we need to put the port for connecting to the LDAP-S protocol using SSL. Tell him, okay, now we have successfully connected using the LDAP-S. Now we need to run the report of Testamo to check if you are working with LDAP-S or not. Okay, this is one thing we need to now test. We will open our Microsoft terminal and run a certain command to make sure it will test now and see if we have our LDAP-S enabled or not. So now we can go to the to this report and then we will run or take this command and see if we can now test the LDAP and LDAP-S. Okay, so now we'll go there and I need to put or change this green or these two to put the forest name and the domain name. Okay, I tried to work with the this command, but there was a problem here that I have forgotten to put matrix.internal. So this is the forest name and the domain is matrix.internal. I need to put matrix.internal. So this command didn't give me any output. Okay, so I tried another command, okay, to test my LDAP and LDAP-S. Okay, here we see nothing. It will not give us any output. We can rectify that later by adding .internal. It will give us the results, but before that we need to go and here I am trying to see this URL to make sure that I can test my LDAP and LDAP-S. So I will open this URL and then begin checking. Or by the way, this command test LDAP is already included uh, with the testomo report. So here I am taking test LDAP minus computer name, and then I will put the name of my two servers, my two domain controllers, and see if I will succeed in detecting using the LDAP S and LDAP. Okay, so here I'm putting my domain controller names. Okay, here you go, SM0125, and then okay, DCSM0225. Okay, and then format table to make it appear in a certain, or in a certain output, a certain shape, to be like a table. Here we can see that I am having the LDAP catalog, or the port is enabled LDAP and LDAP S for both. These ports are for global catalog. Both are enabled as LDAP for the two servers and LDAP S for the two servers. LDAP is true for the two servers. LDAP S is true for the two servers. All of the ports are available for the normal LDAP, and for uh, this is for the normal LDAP and for the LDAP S ports. So we have succeeded in enabling the LDAP S and working with it. And I prefer not to force working with the LDAP S. Leave the choice for the client. If he have the availability to work with the LDAP, then he can work with the LDAP. If he can work with LDAP S, then he can work with the LDAP S. Okay, I do not prefer to push working with LDAP S, and I will show you all there is no recommended, or no recommendations from famous security companies to ensure that you have LDAP S enabled. I will show you the Department of Defense of the United States recommendations concerning the Active Directory. It didn't state to enable LDAP S. Okay, so now we have all of the ports enabled. So I think we will go and see the next point. But before that, we are not finished yet. We need to first uh, work with, or after enabling LDAP S, we need to enable LDAP channel binding and LDAP signing. Okay, this should be our next step. Okay, to enable LDAP channel binding and LDAP signing. But before that, I need to show you all the recommendations of the Department of Defense. If we open, this is their software. Okay, if we open this, okay, and this is all of the recommendations, or security recommendations for all of the products or known products. If we go and open the Active Directory, okay, here is the Active Directory domain, and we will open the Active Directory Forest. Okay, so if you see here all of the recommendations, no single recommendation saying that we should enable LDAP. Only one I have seen it. This is the one. Okay, that you should. A VPN must be used to protect Active Directory network traffic, or protect directory traffic, network traffic for directory service, implementing spanning enclave boundaries. Okay, saying at minimum LDAP or RDAP S is usually required. Minimum. Okay, so here saying that DoD, Department of Defense Ports, Protocols and Services Management, restricts the use of LDAP, LDAP-S, and many of the AD-related protocols across enclave boundaries. So he's saying here that you should use LDAP-S, or even a VPN if your Active Directory is across boundaries, or you're having a lot of sites in physical locations. So you should use the LDAP-S in this regard. Or so if you have only, I think, one site, it's not recommended to use the LDAP-S, or you could not use the LDAP-S. Okay, so this is one of the things, okay, to concerning the Department of Defense. If I go to the forest, nothing is saying this concerning, or working with LDAP-S. Okay, so anyway, this is one thing to note. Okay, so now the second point is to how to enable LDAP channel binding and LDAP signing, and what is LDAP binding and LDAP signing. If you go to Perplexity, okay, and ask it what is both, here he is saying, or let's see the answer of Perplexity, and then we will see the answer of ChatGPT 4o and Claude to see both what they are talking about. So here, if we go there and ask to read the answer, okay, let's see that.
Implementing LDAP channel binding and LDAP signing. Implementing LDAP channel binding is the process of tying the TLS tunnel and the LDAP application layer together to create a unique identifier called a channel binding token, CBT, for each LDAP session. This prevents an attacker from reusing intercepted LDAP communications, as they would need to establish a new TLS tunnel to do so. To implement LDAP channel binding, you need to take the following steps. Install the necessary Windows updates. The March 2020 Windows updates added support for LDAP channel binding. Ensure all your Windows systems have these updates installed. Configure the group policy setting. On your Active Directory domain controllers, configure the domain controller, LDAP server channel binding token requirements, group policy setting. Never. LDAP channel binding is disabled, default. When supported, LDAP channel binding is required for Windows versions that support it, allowing compatibility with older clients. Always, LDAP channel binding is always required, rejecting any clients that don't provide the CBT. The recommended end state is to set this to always for maximum security, but you may want to start with when supported to audit your environment first. Monitor the event logs. When LDAP channel binding is enabled, you'll see new event ID 3039, 3040, and 3041 entries in the directory service event log, indicating successful and failed LDAP connections due to channel binding requirements. Implementing LDAP signing is the digital signing of LDAP traffic to ensure the authenticity and integrity of the LDAP communications. This prevents man-in-the-middle attacks where the LDAP traffic could be intercepted and modified. To implement LDAP signing, you need to configure it on both the Windows clients and the Active Directory domain controllers. Configure Windows clients. Set the network security, LDAP client signing requirements group policy to one of the following. None. LDAP signing is not required. Default. Negotiate signing. LDAP signing is negotiated. Require signing. LDAP signing is required. Configure Active Directory domain controllers. Set the domain controller, LDAP server signing requirements group policy to one of the following. None. LDAP signing is not required. Default. Require signing. LDAP signing is required. The recommended end state is to set both client and server settings to require signing for maximum security. However, as with channel binding, you may want to start with negotiate signing to audit your environment first before enforcing the requirement. Monitor the event logs. When LDAP signing is enabled, you'll see new event ID 2886, 2887, 2888, and 2889 entries in the directory service event log, indicating successful and failed LDAP connections due to signing requirements. By implementing both LDAP channel binding and LDAP signing, you can significantly improve the security of your LDAP communications and protect against man-in-the-middle and other attacks. Remember to plan and test the changes carefully, as they can impact client connectivity if not done properly.
So this is the answer of Perplexity. If we go and ask ChatGPT to explain the same but in a simpler way, let's see the answer of ChatGPT 4o.
Sure, let's break this down in simpler terms. Hasher, what is LDAP? LDAP, Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, is a way for applications to talk to directory services like Microsoft's Active Directory, which is used to manage users and devices in a network. What are LDAP channel binding and LDAP signing? 1. LDAP channel binding. It's like adding a unique seal to your messages when communicating over a secure channel, SSL/TLS. This seal helps ensure that the message hasn't been tampered with by someone in the middle. 2. LDAP signing. It's like putting a digital signature on your messages to prove that they haven't been altered during transit. Why is this important? Without these security measures, hackers could intercept and alter communications between an LDAP client, like your computer, and an LDAP server, like Active Directory. This could allow them to pretend to be someone else and gain unauthorized access. What are the updates about? March 10th, 2020 update. Microsoft introduced new settings for administrators to improve the security of LDAP communications by enabling channel binding and signing. However, they didn't make these changes mandatory. August 8th, 2023 update. New auditing features were added to help administrators identify clients that do not use channel binding. This means administrators can see which devices might be vulnerable. October 10, 2023, November 14, 2023, and January 9, 2024 updates. These updates extended the auditing features to more versions of Windows Server, making it easier for administrators to track and improve security. What should administrators do? 1. Install updates. Make sure the latest Windows updates are installed. 2. Enable logging. Turn on logging to track LDAP communications and identify any issues. 3. Check devices. Identify which devices do not support LDAP channel binding or signing, and take steps to upgrade or secure them. Why this is necessary. These changes help prevent various types of cyber attacks where a hacker might intercept and manipulate network traffic. By enforcing these security measures, the overall security of the network is significantly improved. How does this affect users? For most regular users, these changes happen behind the scenes and are managed by IT administrators. The goal is to make the network more secure without disrupting day-to-day activities. In summary, Microsoft is enhancing LDAP security to protect against potential cyber threats. Administrators need to follow the guidelines to ensure their networks are secure, while regular users benefit from a safer computing environment.
So this is the answer of ChatGPT 4o. By the way, if you go to Perplexity, if you tell him to give me certain screenshots concerning the LDAP signing and LDAP binding, you can see he can give you a couple of screenshots, okay, for the LDAP signing. This is the group policy to enable LDAP binding and signing, and you can see also a couple of videos recommended here on how to make LDAP binding and signing. So Perplexity is a very good AI tool for searching. It's more better than Google in searching because it gives you a lot, or give you a summary of the findings and the resources he got his data from, and additional images and videos concerning the topic that you are searching. Very good tool, by the way. Anyway, so this is ChatGPT 4o concerning the LDAP binding and signing, what they are. If you go to Claude and ask it the same question, okay, let's go there and ask it to explain what is LDAP binding and signing. Let's see the answer. Okay, if we go there.
Sure, I'd be happy to explain this in simpler terms. This document is about some important security updates for Windows, particularly for something called LDAP, Lightweight Directory Access Protocol, which is used in many business networks. Here's a breakdown in simpler terms. The problem: there's a security weakness in how computers talk to each other in business networks. Bad guys could potentially trick the network into thinking they're allowed to do things they shouldn't be able to do. The solution: Microsoft is introducing new ways to make these conversations between computers more secure. They're calling it LDAP channel binding and LDAP signing. What's changing? Starting March 10th, 2020, Microsoft released updates that let network administrators turn on these new security features. They've also added ways for administrators to see when computers are trying to connect in the old, less secure way. What it means for users: most regular users won't notice anything. This is mainly for the IT folks who manage business networks. Why it's important: These changes make it much harder for bad guys to pretend to be someone they're not on the network. What needs to be done? Network administrators need to install the latest Windows updates. Turn on some special logging to see what's happening. Check if any devices are still using the old, less secure methods. Work with device makers to update anything that can't use the new, more secure methods. Timeline. Microsoft started rolling this out in March 2020 and has been making improvements through 2023 and into 2024. In essence, it's like Microsoft is upgrading the locks on the doors of business networks. They're making sure everyone has the new locks, showing people how to use them, and helping find any old doors that still need to be upgraded.
Very, very good answer. If you go and ask ChatGPT for O how we can enable LDAP binding and signing, we have seen how Perplexity have answered it. Let's see how ChatGPT for O will answer it, and see also Claude when we ask it the same question. Let's see that.
Enabling LDAP channel binding and LDAP signing involves configuring group policy settings and registry values on your Active Directory domain controllers. Here's a step-by-step guide to enable these features. Step 1. Install the latest updates. Ensure that the latest Windows updates are installed on your domain controllers. This is crucial as it includes the necessary features and security patches. Step 2. Enable LDAP signing. 1. Open Group Policy Management. Press WinR, type gpmc.msc, and press Enter. 2. Create or edit a Group Policy Object GPO. Right-click on your domain or an organizational unit OU where you want to apply the policy and select Create a GPO in this domain and link it here, or edit an existing GPO. 3. Navigate to the policy setting. Go to Computer Configuration, Policies, Windows Settings, Security Settings, Local Policies, Security Options. 4. Configure LDAP signing. Find the policy named Domain Controller LDAP Server Signing Requirements. Set it to require signing. Step 3. Enable LDAP channel binding. 1. Open Group Policy Management. As before, open gpmc.msc. 2. Edit the same GPO. Edit the GPO where you configured LDAP signing. 3. Navigate to the policy setting. Go to Computer Configuration, Policies, Administrative Templates, System, Netlogon, Parameters. 4. Configure LDAP channel binding. Find the policy named Domain Controller LDAP Server Channel Binding Token Requirements. Set it to when supported or always. Step 4. Verify and apply the settings. 1. Force Group Policy Update. On the domain controllers, open Command Prompt as an administrator and run gpupdate/force. 2. Verify the settings. Check the settings by running gpresult/r or looking at the applied policies in the Group Policy Management console. Step 5. Registry Settings. Optional. If you prefer to configure these settings directly via the registry, you can do so. 1. Open Registry Editor. Press WinR, type Reddit, and press Enter. 2. Navigate to the registry path. Go to HKey Local Machine System Current Control Set Services NTDS Parameters. 3. Add or edit the registry values. Fine. Add or edit the DWORD value named LDAP Server Integrity and set it to 2. For LDAP channel binding, add or edit the DWORD value named LDAP Enforced Channel Binding and set it to 1 when supported or 2 always. 4. Restart the domain controllers. Restart the domain controllers to apply the changes. Step 6. Monitor and audit. 1. Enable diagnostic logging. Open Command Prompt as an administrator and run regadd HKey Local Machine System Current Control Set Services NTS Diagnostics v16 LDAP Interface Events /tdword/d2. 2. Check event logs. Use Event Viewer to monitor the Directory Services log for LDAP signing and channel binding events. Summary. By following these steps, you can enable LDAP channel binding and LDAP signing to enhance the security of your Active Directory environment. Regularly monitor the event logs to ensure that all LDAP communications are compliant with these settings.
Here he forgot to give us the group policy to enable LDAP signing on the client. This was provided by Perplexity, but here he didn't give us, he give only the setting concerning our group policy concerning the server. What about the client? side group policy. So this is one thing. Okay, let's see concerning the signing. Okay, this is required signing. As for the binding, there is no okay, this is for the server. Okay, this is correct. There is nothing for LDAP channel binding for the client. It's only for the server. Okay, so we have already got LDAP channel signing requirement, so this is correct. And then update, and then he is giving you a lot of ways to do that through the registry or through the group policy. So this is correct. If we go to Claude and ask it to give us the steps to enable LDAP binding and signing, if we go there and see how it is done already. So here is saying ensure. Okay, I think let me have a look here. Okay, open group policy. Okay, LDAP server signing required, LDAP binding. Okay, also I think here there is something related to the client side. Also here he didn't give us the client side, but let's read also the steps here.
Step-by-step guide. Implementing LDAP channel binding and signing. Update Windows. Ensure all domain controllers have the March 10th, 2020 Windows Update or later installed. For newer features, install August 8th, 2023 or later updates on Windows Server 2022 or October 10th, 2023 or later updates on Windows Server 2019. Enable LDAP event logging. Open the registry editor regedit.exe on your domain controllers. Navigate to HKEY Sheen /system /current control set /services /ntds /diagnostics. Find or create a D-word value named 16 LDAP interface events. Set its value to 2 or higher. Configure LDAP signing. Open Group Policy Management Console. Edit the default domain controller's policy or create a new policy for your DCs. Navigate to Computer Configuration. Find Domain Controller, LDAP Server Signing Requirements. Set it to Require Signing. Configure LDAP Channel Binding. In the same policy, find Domain Controller, LDAP Server Channel Binding Token Requirements. Set it to When supported initially, you can change to Always later. Apply an Update Group Policy. Run pupdate/force on all domain controllers to apply the new settings. Restart the domain controllers if prompted. Monitor for issues. Check the directory service event log on your DCs for the following events. Event 2889 indicates unsigned LDAP binds. Event 3039 indicates failed LDAP channel binding. Events 3074 and 3075 audit events for LDAP channel binding, if enabled. Identify problem devices. For each event, note the IP addresses of clients having issues. Determine what type of device or application is associated with each IP. Remediate issues. For network appliances or non-Windows devices, contact the vendor for updates. For Windows devices, ensure they have the necessary updates, like CV 2017-8563, installed. For applications, work with developers to ensure they support LDAP signing and channel binding. Gradually increase security. Once most issues are resolved, consider changing LDAP channel binding to Always for maximum security. Continuous monitoring. Regularly check logs to ensure no new issues arise as you add new devices or applications to your network. Remember, implementing these changes may impact your network. It's crucial to test in a non-production environment first and have a rollback plan ready. Version 1 of 2. Publish.
So here this is the answer of Claude. Again, we need for LDAP signing to enable this for the client, and we need to configure a group policy and apply it to the client. So normally the LDAP signing and binding for the server, this can be done on the domain controller's group policy. As for the LDAP signing in specific to the clients, you can create a group policy for LDAP signing. There is no group policy for LDAP binding for the clients, okay? So we only configure LDAP signing, and we have seen how we can do that. So this is very simple thing to do. And this is the first finding here. If you go there, this is the first finding how we can enable LDAP. Here I didn't enable LDAP binding or signing. As I said before, it will do a lot of problems if it's not configured correctly. Okay, and see if all of the clients and applications are supporting LDAP signing and binding, and also supporting LDAP-S. As we can see here, this is the findings before rectifying the problem. Okay, so this is the first point. Then we can go to the second point, which is called machine quota. Take a closer look on this finding. It's not here I have passed this test. It's saying by default in the Microsoft Active Directory, members of the authenticated users group. This is a group that all of the users that are successfully authenticated in the domain are a member of this group. Okay, any authenticated user, okay, in the domain can join computers to the domain out to 10 computers. This is very dangerous. You should not leave the right to join a computer to the domain to the restricted users or to the normal users. This should only be done by the domain admin or administrator account or a member of the administrators of the domain. Okay, so this is not should be for the normal user. We should change from 10 computers by default to 0 computers. So let's see how we can do that. If we go and see how we can rectify the second problem, okay, which is machine quota. So we go to the second point, how we can know if we have this solved or not. Very simple. There is this URL. If you open it, it will give you a PowerShell command to make sure your machine account quota is 0. If the machine account quota is 10, then that means that any normal user can join up to 10 computers in the domain. So we will take this command and try to use it in our PowerShell. Okay, we will see here that I have 0. So I am following, or I have successfully worked or past this point. If it is 10, then you will be alerted by the customer reports. How we can, for example, let me change it, okay, and then let me show you all how we can play with this value. So for example, if it is 10 and you need to change it to 0, I will show you all how we can do that. So here another command, this URL will show you how you can, here you can set, okay, the value as you wish. Here you can change 0. I will show you all how I can change this value from 0 to 10, and then again I will change it to 0. So let's paste it, but before that you need to put your domain first. Put the domain here, and then it will, or the command or the line will work. So now I add my domain, matrix.internal. Then we will change the machine account quota to 10, okay, and then press enter. Now it is there. If I try to again get the features or get the value, we will see that it is 10 now. I can tell him up. Okay, then you will see it is 10. Okay, so now we can change it by simply changing this value to 0, and then we can press enter. Now it is there. If I tell him to get the object, now it is 0. So this is a very simple way to pass this test. okay, or past this point. So now we can go to the next point, which is domain controller objects. This is the second thing here, or the second test, saying that, or you will check if your domain controller's computer objects are enabled. The owner of these computer objects are administrators or domain admins. The managing of the field should be empty, or the domain controller's computers objects should not be managed by anyone. I think this is only to the admins. DNS should return IP address for the DC. He will check the DNS records for the DCs. If it is replied correctly, DNS returns valid IP address version 4 for the, or it will match. We will have two things. The DNS record should match what is in the Active Directory. So simply it is checking the domain controller's computer objects, the records in the DNS, their IP version 4 records, their IP version 6 records, password not required. I think this is related to the computer password on the domain controller computer object. There is already a password for the computer, and this is also for the domain controllers. Any computer in the domain should, when he log into the domain, should provide a password. So the user, we don't have only a user password but a computer password, and this domain controller password is used in replication. So let's see here. I have passed already this test, but let me show you all the results, or let me go and show you the results of the report. If we go there and see what this report contains, here we see domain controller objects. Let me see what he's talking about. This report verifies the domain controller status, the status of domain controllers. If the domain controller's computer objects are enabled, it verifies critical aspects of domain controllers such as domain controller owner and domain controller manager. Okay, this is normally the domain admins and enterprise admins. Also check domain controller is enabled, computer object is enabled, and IP address matches DNS, or the IP in the Active Directory matches the IP address in the DNS, verifies last login date for the domain controller, okay, and the last password change for the password change for the domain controller computer password, okay, within those. Okay, so he is checking all of these. If we go and see the report, you will see that, for example, this is my PDC, this is the domain enabled, the computer object is enabled, DNS status is true. We can see here means the domain controller IP address is available in the DNS. If it is not registered, this means the NSA may not be functioning properly, or it is an old DC that should be removed. Is GC, or it is a global catalog? Yes, it's true, it is a global catalog. This is not our ODC, it's not a read-only domain controller. IP address version 4 true, IP version 4 6 true. IP address has one IP version 4, it has only one IP address. If you have multiple IPs, then there is a problem. Okay, it have only one IP version 6 IP. Manager not set means managed by property is not set as required. It is not set, it should be not set, managed by the computer, or the computer object or domain controller computer object should not be managed by anyone. Okay, as it says here, it is, if it is set, it's bad. Owner type, let's see here, it is administrative. That means domain controller owner of this certain type requires administrative. If it is different, that means that the security risk involved. Administrative here means domain admins and enterprise admins. Password last change, here is saying that displays list last password change by domain controller. If it's more than 60 days, usually means that DC is down. If he didn't change, or the DC didn't change his computer password more than 60 days, then it means it's not online or there is a problem. Okay, last login 0, that means it is already logged in today. Okay, so last password change 0, and 0 means it is already changed today and the last login is today. Okay, last password change, as we have seen here, last login Here is the owner, domain admins for the computer or domain controller computer object, the owner SID or unique identifier or security identifier, managed by, it is not managed by anyone. This is the IP address of my primary domain controller. Okay, IP version 4, last login. Okay, the operating system, the system version, password expire false. Okay, the computer or the computer password should expire false. So false means if it is true, then it means that password expired. False means it is expired. Is the password expired? No, it is not expired. So false means it is not expired, it is working. Last password set, the computer last password set, password never expires. False, it means that it expires. Okay, this is for my PDC and this is for my ADC. Here one thing, I have already disabled IP version 6 on my ADC. Some recommendations say to disable IP version 6, so I have already disabled IP version 6 on my ADC. I can do that for the PDC as well. You can enable it simply by going to the network connection or the network connection properties and go to properties and add TCP IP version 6 and tell him to install IP version 6. Okay, so this is one thing here. And one also, or the next test will be domain roles availability. Here, if these roles are available, okay, and who holds these roles. Here's same, for example, the PDC emulator, the PDC emulator, this is the server holding the PDC, and the red master, this is also the PC holding this role or Vesmo. These are the Vesmo roles, and who is holding these Vesmo roles. Okay, so this is one thing. As we can see, he is listing all of them. Okay, and who is holding them and if they are available, because he will ping the server holding these roles and see if he is replying to the ping or he is online or not. This is one thing also to make sure it's not only the availability or who is holding these roles and if they are available or not. Let's see the video. So this is also the command. Every part of the Testomo report, you can run it separately, okay, by using a command. So I think we can pass this real quickly. Okay, again. So we will take this command and run it. Okay, here is my ADC, so I'm running it on my ADC. Just to change, put the forest and then the domain. Make sure the domain is matrix.internal, not only matrix, because this will not give you any output. So if I press enter, it will not give me any output. Here I'm telling it to put the output in a table. Okay, so I'm trying to get the right syntax. Okay, this was before listed in the LDAP. When I was testing the LDAP, there was a certain command to get the output in a format table. Okay, if we go there, here is the command format table. But here it will not get any data because the domain is not correct. So I try to put matrix.internal. Again, here I figured that I should add matrix.internal. Okay, and then we will see the data is already there. As you can see here, this is all of the data that I was discussing from a couple of seconds. Now I need to put it in a table. We can do that, but there is a lot of columns, so it will not appear in whole. So if I tell him this and then format table, it will not get the whole view of the table. As we can see here, okay, this is it, but not all of it is displayed. Okay, so this is how we can see the output of this command. Okay, and again I realized that I can run the LDAP. Remember, when I run the LDAP command to check the LDAP S, it didn't give me any output because I didn't put the correct syntax. So if we go, let me show you all where I was talking about. Here, this is the LDAP. Remember, when I run this first, it didn't give me any output. So here I will change to matrix.internal and see the output, because here I realized that I was missing one command, or missing a certain word. Okay, now we can see here is the LDAP. It is working perfectly. Okay, and we will see that LDAP bindings, all of them are true. If we go there, all of them are true. Okay, so now we have everything working perfectly. Okay, so now we can continue working with the test results. Now we can go to the next step, which is domain roles availability. We can go and take this command and check the availability of the Vismo roles, who hold them and if they are available or not. So we'll see here a very important display. If we go there, here it's saying pinging. So now he have resolved the IP of the domain controller holding the Vismo roles. So now he got it, the IP version 4 IP, and he's pinging it to make sure that all of the Vismo roles are available. Okay, so let's see. Here we can see now, this is the PDC emulator. Here is the owner of the PDC emulator, the Redmaster, the owner of the Redmaster, the infrastructure, the owner of the infrastructure master. All of these, including the domain master again, but this is not listed here. So this is very good point, or very good test. They are available and they are pinged and they are working. We will stop at this point, which is well-known folders. We will stop here at this point, and in the upcoming video we'll discuss what is the well-known folders in the Active Directory or well-known containers in the Active Directory. Hope this video informative for you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much. We have stopped at minute 28:39. Thank you so much.